If everybody would please stand, join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag of our country. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Will. Mr. LeClaire.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. I'd also like to encourage all of you to participate actively both tonight and any other opportunity you have to provide any of us on the board with your opinions, perspectives, etc. about all these issues that we're dealing with. Steve, I just have a question for you because I'm not sure how we're running this tonight. Are you going to ask us to do this kind of run through on every single thing based on numbers? And if so, I would suggest that there may be a more effective way to do this. But before we get there, I guess I just have a question. We were just provided a number of $36,804 for the cost of one session of pre-K.
Correct.
And that's for 18 students.
Yes.
But in the budget option document that was provided last week, one session of pre-K had a value of $49,279. And then that gets me to the next question, and it's an issue that was raised at our last meeting, and that was there were a number of things identified under budget options last week that we shared with everyone and we talked about, but many of them have no dollar figures whatsoever. And I know that I specifically asked to have dollar figures associated with all of those, but I don't see that anywhere. So I don't know if it's available, but I sure would like to make that available to the board and to all the members. I also asked for an accounting of the number of students that would be impacted by each of those budget options, not merely the few that we've been provided. And on top of that, I also asked for a direct accounting that would reflect what the cost per student is, and I haven't seen that. So I guess going through this one item at a time by options feels like that's not an effective way because we don't have all the numbers for all the options. So what do we do? We're just kind of looking at some, and I'm just very uncomfortable with that. Thanks.
Mr. Wagner has put together a list, I think, of the items that he feels would best serve us at this point. And those are the items that he has given us further information on. So my thought is that since we're following our superintendent's recommendation and looking at those items, if we choose to not accept any of these or all of these items, then we would have to come back, and we still may have to come back and look at more because we're still quite a bit short.
Okay, thank you for that perspective, but I would offer this observation. How can we objectively evaluate any of the alternatives if we don't have all of them in front of us to look at?
What are you missing for the pre-K?
I'm not missing anything from the pre-K, I believe. What I'm saying is that how do we evaluate any option if we don't have all of the options with all of the information in front of us? It's pretty hard to put a value on any of these things because we obviously have to weigh something against another. That's where we are. We're going to have a whole laundry list of potential places where we can reduce our expenses in this budget. My thought would be to try, I'm not going to answer your question, Bob. So, as I recall, Steve is the president of this board and is running this meeting, so I'll deal with that. And these people are who we are trying to represent. I'm trying to offer an opportunity to have a fully transparent and objective evaluation of what our options are. Right now, I don't believe we have that. I don't believe we have sufficient information. And so I just suggest that it would be premature. I also suggest that once we get all that information, I think it would be useful for us to offer to this community their opportunity to rank every one of them.
The purpose of going through the items that Mr. Wagner has given us is that as superintendent and an educator for over 40 years, he sits in a much better place than we do to decide what a school needs and what it doesn't. Our job is to allocate the funding based on the recommendations of our administration and to also set policies and procedures. In working with his other two administrators, he has determined, the three of them have determined, the best course of action for this district. That's why I chose to go in this direction. Along with that, we will absolutely, positively have to look at other things. And we also still have to wait and see what kind of state aid we're going to receive. And I'm trying to get everybody's perspective in front of our public so that we know and the public knows where each person stands on which item. And then we can reevaluate and we can look again next week and see where we stand after tonight.